So the president will also be in Limpopo today. Cyril Ramaphosa and his Botswana counterpart, President Mokgweetsi Masisi, said to visit the bus crash site where pilgrims lost their lives on the eve of the Easter long weekend. 45 St Engenas ZCC worshippers were traveling to Moria when their bus lost control, fell off a bridge and caught fire between Mokopane and Marken. Our reporter Pimani Baloyi is going to be watching this development, and she joins us now live from the site itself. And Pimani, who could forget, you were among the first journalists to arrive at that particular site. And if the mountains and trees there could speak, they tell a very heartbreaking story about what happened exactly 2 weeks ago.
Good morning, Ayanda. Indeed, I was one of the first media crews to arrive at the scene as the bus was still on fire, and the emergency personnel were working very hard to ensure that they quenched that fire, but also they removed the remains of the people that at the time had already perished, had already burnt beyond recognition, and they worked overnight to ensure that they are removed. Ayanda, right now we're coming to you live about a kilometer or so from the bridge where this bus plunged off the rails and then slid down into this river about 50 meters down. We're about 2 kilometers from there because there's no signal anywhere closer to that point. Right here, the two presidents are expected to come this afternoon. But Ayanda, this is a two-legged visit to this area relating to this crash. The first leg of the crash would be going to, as my colleague Katlego has already mentioned, going to the Mmamatlakala municipality, where these two presidents will be getting updates from authorities that have been working tirelessly to ensure that the remains of the people who perished in that accident are taken back to Botswana and that their families have closure. They are able to be afforded funerals. But what we do know, last week we had an update from the Minister of Health, accompanied by his Limpopo counterpart, Dr. Popi Ramathuba, who is the MEC here. And the latest was that 8 of the bodies that were recovered from this crash scene were visually identifiable. And for that reason, post-mortem tests had already been concluded. And by the end of the week, families of those deceased had gone to the hospital and had physically identified them as their relatives. But we also learned from the minister and the MEC that there were other 35 remaining human remains where they would have to get tissue samples and also get DNA samples from their relatives in order for them to match the two and then identify who those remains belong to. They assured us that authorities are working very hard to ensure that that process runs speedily, but stating that because this is a scientific process, it will take some time. It might run over months. We were promised as members of the media to get regular updates in terms of how far that process of working on this 35 human remains was going. What we gathered from both the minister and the MEC is that, yes, the statistics that they got from the bus company, 45 people seem to have perished. But as and when they removed the remains that were charred beyond recognition, some losing some of their parts, they could only say there were 41 body bags of human remains. So they will be working through all of that to ensure that they find out what is the exact number of people who perished in that crash that happened here on the eve of Easter, Ayanda. But what we do know is that the two presidents will be coming here. So firstly, they'll go to the municipality where they'll probably get an update in terms, it's going to be a closed meeting where they'll get an update in terms of how far that identification process is going and when these bodies will be able to be repatriated back to Botswana. But the second leg is coming to this crash scene where, Ayanda, we expect the two presidents to also be taken through a report of what exactly could have happened on that day, what could have caused that crash, because we were on top of the bridge. Unfortunately, we are unable to cross live from there due to poor signal, but there are brake marks and there is a portion that has been broken off of that concrete wall to show that the bus did try to stop before it crashed down. So the two presidents will be given a technical report of what probably happened on that day and just how far the identification process is expected to start. The first leg, according to the president, the first leg at the Mogalakwena municipality is scheduled to be at 10:30, and then the two presidents are scheduled to get to this bridge site at around 1:30. We have seen some vehicles with Botswana number plates and some, SAPS members as well as traffic officials driving around. I'm sure they're just ensuring that by the time the two state men arrive here, this place is secure and safe to ensure that they are able to work around the scene, Ayanda.
Pimani Baloyi, thanks very much indeed for giving us a sense of what to expect in the coming hours. Really do appreciate it. Pimani Baloyi, our reporter, live to us there from just outside Mokopane in Limpopo.